White flag up. 8 runners looked away at the mile 2. They're off. They begin over the mile 2, the Royal Bahrain Irish Champion Stakes of 25, and it is Shin Emperor who takes them along, being followed by Delacroix. Mount Kilimanjaro improves on the inside of the nose bandit, hot as hell as they race the end of the first furlong and a half. They're tracked by Zahrann, Royal Champion on the outside of Anmaat, and observing from the back of the field is the grey-white Birch. 7.5 furlongs to go, and moving on in front is Mount Kilimanjaro and Ronan Whelan. They take up a couple of lengths advantage, improving as Royal Champion Clifford Lee on the outside of Shin Emperor and UC Sakai, followed by Delacroix and Christophe Soumillon. Hot as hell Shane Foley and Zahrann Ben Cohn, followed by Anmaat Chris Hayes with the back marker White Birch and Dylan Brown McMonigal. Heading towards the 5, marking the halfway stage in the Royal Bahrain Irish Champion Stakes. The leader by over 3 lengths is Mount Kilimanjaro. Second is Royal Champion, and third is Shin Emperor, and fourth is Hot as Hell. 2 lengths to Zahrann, who's racing in company with Delacroix, and then comes Anmaat and White Birch. Racing inside the last half mile. Nudged along in front is Mount Kilimanjaro, but maintains a 3 lead over Royal Champion in second, and third last year's third Shin Emperor, then Hot as Hell. Nudged along is Zahrann, then Delacroix, the purple and white with the last 2, less than 3 furlongs to go, Anmaat and White Birch. Coming round the home turn, 2.5 furlongs to go, and it is Mount Kilimanjaro with swooping to the front, Delacroix and Christophe Soumillon lead. Racing to the final furlong and a half. Anmaat into second, followed by White Birch. Royal Champion weakens. It's Delacroix and Anmaat. Gone on from Royal Champion. White Birch next, followed by Hot as Hell. Inside the final half furlong, it is Delacroix on his way to the Royal Bahrain Irish Champion Stakes. 13 of them for Aidan O'Brien. Anmaat second. Royal Champion, Hot as Hell. White Birch next.
Yes, it is indeed the baker's dozen of victories in this Group 1 marquee event for Aidan O'Brien. Christophe Soumillon completes a treble for the stable on today's card on Delacroix, the 2-to-1 favourite. Drifter earlier on in the day, strong close to the off, and with the victory of Scandinavia in the St Leger this afternoon as well, Don, even by Aidan O'Brien's standards, today really is quite the day.
Yeah, brilliant day, and this just rounds it all off, Gary, doesn't it? Delacroix, he was superior by quite some way. Christophe Soumillon, when he gave him a squeeze early in the home straight, he picked up quite quickly, got the better of the leader. Mount Kilimanjaro is just fading into the background there. Then he's challenged by Anmaat. Christophe Soumillon gets over, bags this near side rail. Anmaat came from a fair way back to challenge, but he's not really getting any closer to him all the way inside the final furlong. Delacroix, the 3-year-old, the younger horse, he's gone to the line strongly. He sees out this 10 furlong trip really well. It's probably his optimum trip as well. He's got a length in hand over Anmaat, the game Anmaat, the 7-year-old Anmaat at the line, but it's Delacroix's day.
Yeah, he's won it by just over a length, I think, in the end. Maybe it will be a length, actually, looking at that. Anmaat, a great run in second. What a terrifically consistent horse he is. Back in third, Royal Champion, who travelled very powerfully to the turn-in. Just couldn't quite raise his game late on, but another excellent run from a Carl Burke horse. Actually got carved up a bit there, leaving the stalls done, didn't he, Royal Champion, as Delacroix edged left?
Yeah, Delacroix went left, Shin Emperor came right, and it just got a little bit tight in the middle, and Royal Champion was one of the probably the main sufferer of that, but once he's got back on an even keel, he's moved up on the outside. Yeah, he's travelled really well into his race up on the outside. You can see Christophe Soumillon is happy to allow Delacroix kind of drift back in the field. It was a good pace set by Mount Kilimanjaro. Anmaat's even further behind him. Chris Hayes taking his time on him in disputing last place with White Birch, and that's the way they kind of rolled down the back straight. Shin Emperor just took up third place. Hot as Hell has run well as well for a long way, and he kept on. And Zahrann in behind in the Aga Khan colours under Ben Cohn, just in behind. But Delacroix is well back in the field at the first and second now, the third last and second last at this point.
And just keep your eye on the leader here, Mount Kilimanjaro. He looks a touch wayward as they approach the home turn, having opened up that buffer of about 3 lengths over Royal Champion Ronan Whelan. I'm sure that there was no loitering up to this point. Shin Emperor seemed to have a good position at this stage, Don. Were you little bit disappointed with the end product today.
Yeah, they kind of came around him, and then he couldn't go with them. And the race actually changed complexion quite quickly early in the home straight. Mount Kilimanjaro now coming under the right, and yeah, he kind of jinks to his right and then a little bit back to his left. And Royal Champion is just kind of having a look at him. But here's where Delacroix just moves up on the inside, and that's a seriously impressive turn of foot. He gets up on the inside of Mount Kilimanjaro, and then Christophe Soumillon brings him over towards the near side rail where they've been coming all day, and it's probably where he wants to be, is just flush against the near side rail. And once he's bagged that rail, he's going to take an awful lot of passing, and in the end they can't. Anmaat's run really well, Royal Champions run well, Hot as Hell staying on well towards the near side, and good to see White Birch back running his race as well. But they're all playing secondary roles to the winner.
Zahrann was one of the first ones to feel the pinch. He was being ridden along there as they approached the swing into the home straight. I think he'll be probably heading back up to 1.5 miles after this. But here's the move Don spoke about, Christophe Soumillon. As the field kind of fanned out a little bit there, he found his seam, really wrestled the initiative on Delacroix, and then he was able to burrow his way across to the rail, Don, as he had in the 2-year-old race earlier on.
That shot really shows you what happened, doesn't it? Like he came around the inside, but that injection of pace that he was able to use, that took him from behind runners up the inside of runners to be clear enough to be able to go over towards the far side. And Anmaat followed him through. He went through the exact same gap, took the same route, moved over towards the far rail. But that's a really impressive turn of foot that Delacroix showed.
Just a little jink from the winner there crossing the line as he caught sight of the photographers on the other side of the rail. Anmaat once again carried out on his shield. Great run from him. What were your thoughts on White Birch, Don?
I thought he's run well, Gary. He hasn't run since May. He's been off the track for 111 days, and ground just on the easy side of good is fine for him. I thought he stuck to his task well. He's come from well back in the field as well, and I'd say as we move into the autumn, there'll be other targets that he'll have lots of options then moving into the autumn, all going well.
Going back to the winner, what about a rematch with Ombudsman? Who would you be on?
Yeah.
Can't guarantee we're going to see it. But
we may not see it. It would have been lovely to see it here today. It would have been fascinating to see how Ombudsman would have fared. But he wasn't here. Delacroix was here. And yeah, look, I just think that Delacroix, this is probably a career best from him as well. He's done everything right. He's done everything very well. He's done everything impressively. And if the matchup did happen now, I'd be on Delacroix. What about you?
Probably Delacroix, but it would be contingent, I suppose, on where it happened and the prevailing conditions. I'm still a big fan of Ombudsman as well. It just probably isn't a huge amount between the two horses. That's the long and the short of it. But today, as Don said, firmly Delacroix's day. Ombudsman wasn't here, and Delacroix has put his rivals to the sword, guys.
So we wanted to know, before the running of this year's Royal Bahrain Irish Champion Stakes, was Delacroix a good horse or a very good horse? The answer is quite definitively the latter on this evidence, and there are only a handful of horses that can do this: deploy their turn of foot in order to gain themselves track position to win the race, as Christophe Soumillon did. Yeah, he was the only horse in the race that was able to do what Soumillon wanted him to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's jockeys who make decisions like that and knew exactly what they wanted.
And that's why they've drafted him in to replace Ryan Moore.
He had to get length clear so he could get 3 horsewidths wide across to that rail safely and in front. And he's never really had to go for him. And he demonstrated the turn of foot that's been evidenced several times before. Already. He knew what he'd got, he knew where he needed to go and did it expediently. It was a fantastic ride.
He said yesterday to me that stall late he didn't feel was a disadvantage. It would give him options. He'd jump forward and then see how the race was progressing. I think that's the measure of a top jockey. It's like jump positively,
yeah, absolutely,
and then assess what's going on around you. Then ride your race according to the pace.
Yeah.
And he knew that he had Mount Kilimanjaro to go off and swing along. Took Mount Kilimanjaro a while to get into his stride, but he was then able to get the perfect sit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Anmaat's run well. He's a 7-year-old. His legs weren't as quick as Delacroix.
Just not as fast a horse.
Absolutely, he couldn't do it. He followed him through. He got into a little bit of a kerfuffle with the Carl Burke runner, who I think is another Carl Burke runner who's run a lifetime best today. 7-year-old now, won a Group 2 last time, A few people thought it was a fluke, it was a big price, but it wasn't. He's now placed in a real top Group 1. Those horses are on fire, but I mean, look, this was about the winner. He's beaten 2 7-year-olds. There'll be people knocking the form and saying, well, Goslin's horse would have beaten them, but I'm not so sure that's...
Well, Goslin's horse can only beat him if he turns up, and he hasn't turned up, so there you go.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it was a fabulous performance. It needed to happen for Delacroix. If he'd have blown out in this, we'd have still had only one really fantastic run this season to go on, but now we know that he's capable of backing it up in another Group 1. You know, he's a fantastic horse now, bred to be, and has now shown that he is.
That is now 17 Group 1 wins for the season for Aidan O'Brien after victories in the St Ledger and the Irish Champion Stakes. He's won 3 juvenile stakes races this afternoon to add to the tally. 2-1 favourite. It's a treble for Christophe Soumillon and Aidan O'Brien. 4-1 Anmaat is second and Royal Champion third at 18-1. Winning time of 2:04.69. All 8 ran in the 2025 edition of the Royal Bahrain Irish Champion Stakes.
Aidan O'Brien just giving a debrief to the press corps here at Leopardstown. What a win, well done.
Yeah, incredible. Incredible horse. Dean rides him in all his work. Mark rides him out. Andrew and Edmund are in charge of him. Sumi led him up. Incredible horse. Christophe gave him a super ride. We saw him doing it in Sandown. What he did was very unusual. He did it again today. When you say go on him, like I was off a strong pace today. So it was always going to be a strong even run race. So when he said go, it was over really. But Chris gave him a brilliant ride.
How did you get these horses to the peak? He looked pre-race. He looked exceptional.
Big, hardy, strong horse. Yeah, incredible horse. Very big and powerful. Yeah, but listen, you know he's a hardy boy. You saw him the open press day, like he's not for kids, you know what I mean? But big, powerful, strong horse, you know.
You mentioned that turn of foot visually when Christophe let him go. The 2-3 lengths he got on the field was quite taken.
Yes, what he did in Sandown was very unusual. I haven't seen a horse to do that before, but he did it again today, you know. So, like, we knew the last day was only a sprint down the straight, really, but incredible, really.
And to get him back on track after York?
Over the moon, delighted for everyone, yeah. So, listen, York was only an exercise canter, really.
Where are you going from here?
I'm not sure. The lads will decide what they want to do. I'm not sure. He's all the options, so depending on what they want to do, really.
You've got to go for presentation. Quick word in Scandinavia and the runners in the Ledger.
Yeah, delighted with Scandinavia. Ran a great race. Lambourne ran well. They all ran super races. Delighted.
Well done again. Great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.